but it's open right now.
Oh my God.
So don't delay.
Thank you guys for being the best at what you do.
Log on to KBLATalk1580.com right now and register to join us for an afternoon of good music, good people, and good vibes. Wednesday, June 19th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We will provide the food and drink, but be sure to bring your low-back chairs, blankets, and your personal picnic baskets.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Let's celebrate 3 years of being the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of news and information.
We love you, KBLA.
We're KBLA Talk 1580. We're black and striped again.
In the midst of sorrow, you can be up and looking down. The light of day tomorrow will bring. Oh, you hear the voice of freedom, telling you this can be done. No matter how hard reality seems, just hold on to your dream, yeah.
If things around you trouble, no, you don't have to stumble and fall. Keep pushing on and don't you oh, I know something's wrong.
You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, live from our nation's capital. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and chief national political analyst. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. That's DrNiiQuartelai. Pro tip, just go ahead and type in Dr. Nee and boom, bam, boom. There I am. Also, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never, ever, ever miss an episode. Of course, it's A More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA Talk 1580. Also, be sure to download the KBLA Talk 1580 app. That way you can listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Lady Alexa. And just like that, we're there for your listening pleasure. Happy June 6th, everybody. We know that Juneteenth is right around the corner, and we hope that you'll have your dial set on KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our anniversary. And the day before, as we glide into the anniversary, we have our huge climate justice town hall taking place in Los Angeles in partnership with C-SPAN. You don't want to miss that. So all the more reason to download the KBLA app so you stay on top of all these opportunities to tap in. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. This first one coming out of Evanston, Illinois, and reported by the local PBS station there. Evanston's groundbreaking reparations program is now facing a legal challenge. The program is aimed at addressing housing discrimination and segregation that took place in the northern suburb from 1919 to 1969. You see, the city's original plan was to distribute funds to eligible Black households in the form of $25,000 payments for home repairs, down payments, or interest or late penalties owed to the city. The measure has since expanded to include direct cash payments that can be used at recipients' discretion. But that program is now under fire as a class action lawsuit is challenging the city's, quote, use of race as an eligibility requirement. Sound familiar? We were just talking to Alfonso David, legal counsel to the Fearless Fund and present CEO of the Global Black Economic Forum, just yesterday about this very same issue. Here it is showing up in Evanston, Illinois. Christine Sevenson, one of the attorneys representing the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, said that the reparations program violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, and that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled, quotes, that they are not in the business of remedying societal discrimination. Justin Hansford, who we've also had on the show before, he's a law professor at Howard University. He said he believes this interpretation of the 14th Amendment is not correct. He went on to say, quote, the two mistakes in that thinking are, number one, the mistake of feeling that the 14th Amendment is asking that we blind ourselves to reality and pretend that racism can be addressed through color blindness. And he goes on to say that he thinks that this is not the original intent of the 14th Amendment. We shall find out. But just another example of the war on all things diversity, equity, and inclusion raging. In Trump-related news today, a judge orders Donald Trump's strategist, Steve Bannon, to jail after losing contempt appeal. That's right. USA Today is reporting that a federal judge revoked the bail for Steve Bannon, the political strategist and former White House aide to former President Trump, and ordered him to report to federal prison for his contempt of Congress conviction by July 1st. Bannon was convicted in July 2022 for defying a subpoena during the House investigation of the Capitol attacks on January 6, 2021. He was sentenced to 4 months in jail and fined $6,500. He remained free while he appealed the conviction to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. A 3-judge panel upheld the conviction unanimously May 10th. And so Steve Bannon, July 1st, will be reporting to jail, or at least he's supposed to. We shall see. While talking about jails and being held accountable by the law, ABC News is exclusively reporting that Biden tells David Muir that he wouldn't pardon his son Hunter and says that Trump got a fair trial. President Biden said he would not pardon his son Hunter amid an ongoing felony gun trial during a wide-ranging exclusive interview with the ABC News anchor at the Normandy American Cemetery on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Muir asked Biden today if he would accept the outcome of his son's trial in Wilmington, Delaware, to which the president said yes. Biden also said yes when asked by Muir if he would rule out a pardon for Hunter. Hunter Biden, the president's only surviving son, is on trial in Delaware on 3 felony charges related to his efforts to obtain a firearm in 2018 while allegedly addicted to drugs. It's a historic trial, as no son of a sitting president has faced a criminal trial before. Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty last October after being indicted by special counsel David Weiss. And Elon Musk in the news for running some ads that so many of us think that he shouldn't have. I wish I could say all of us think that he shouldn't have, but when you hear the story, you'll understand what I'm saying. Elon Musk's X app ran ads on hashtag white power and other hateful hashtags. NBC News is reporting that Elon Musk's social app has been placing advertisements in the search results for at least 20 hashtags used to promote racist and anti-Semitic extremism, including hashtag white power. That's according to a review of the platform. NBC News found the advertisements by searching various hashtags used to promote racism and anti-Semitism, and by browsing X accounts, it's the platform formerly known as Twitter, that often post racial and religious hatred. The hashtags vary from obvious slogans such as white pride, hashtag white pride, or hashtag unite the white, to more fringe and coded words such as hashtag Groper, which is a movement of online white nationalists, and hashtag Caligari, a debunked theory alleging a conspiracy to eliminate white people from Europe. And so looks like Elon Musk has some splaining to do, to say the least. And he's not the only one. Several Pennsylvania House Republicans, they booed officers who defended the Capitol on January 6th. I can hardly believe it. Two former law enforcement officers who defended the U.S. Capitol from rioters during January 6th, 2021 insurrection were jeered by state GOP lawmakers as they visited Pennsylvania's House of Representatives yesterday. That's according to several Democratic lawmakers present, including one of which reached out to me directly to inform me about this story. Former U.S. Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn and former Sergeant Aquilino Ganell were introduced on the floor Wednesday as heroes by House Speaker Joanne McClinton for having, quotes, bravely defended democracy in the U.S. Capitol against rioters and insurrection on January 6th. And as the two men, both of whom were injured by rioters on January 6th, as they were introduced, the House floor descended into chaos. According to Democratic lawmakers, several GOP lawmakers hissed and booed, with a number of Republicans walking out of the chamber in protest. Definitely not the finest hour for House Republicans in the state of Pennsylvania. And finally, conservatives tied to Trump want to limit insurance coverage for abortions. That's right. The Washington Post is reporting that conservative policymakers influential with former President Trump are discussing how to use a little-known labor law to impose sweeping restrictions on private employer-covered abortions. It's according to a public statement and two people with direct knowledge of labor policy discussions among Trump advisors. Although Trump has not formally committed to anything and talks are ongoing, the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, has publicly called for using federal labor law to limit the ability of private employers to provide coverage that includes abortions in states with abortion restrictions. And so that is your national news roundup. That's the good, bad, and the ugly. You figure out what is what. But when we come forward, we're continuing our ongoing series on responsive philanthropy. And I'm really delighted to welcome to the show Casey Patterson. She's the founder and chief architect of Social Good Solutions. She's also the founder of the Black Equity Collective, and she is here with us today. So much happening in the world and so much potential for philanthropy to be a light. We're going to get her point of view on all that and more. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Tavis Smiley here. We're getting closer to June 18th, and time is running out for you to register to join us for our historic symposium live on C-SPAN, Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at kbla1580.com right now if you want to be in the audience when the nation will see for the first time ever a stage full of brilliant Black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's all going down. Well, it's actually all going up. Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. live from the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Again, admission is free, but we're filling up fast. So if I were you, I would log on right now to kbla1580.com to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys.
Let's take an auntie to the swap meet.
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% plus finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take the retail delivery by 7/1/24.
It's time to escape it all and make your shower feel as luxurious as a bubble bath. With new Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash, the sweet scent of roses and cherries surrounds you, while the thick, creamy lather covers your skin in moisturizing layers of vitamin B3 complex. It'll turn your shower into a spa. The real world will still be out there, so indulge in here just a little while longer. Available in 5 luxurious scents at your local retailer and online.
Seasons change. Why not your tech? Upgrade now during the Dell Technologies Summer Sale event and save on select PCs like the XPS 16 powered by Intel Core processors. You'll be able to bring your most intensive projects to life with built-in AI, minimalistic design, immersive visuals, and cinematic audio. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to exceptional tech and electronics plus free shipping on everything. Amazing prices await you for a limited time only at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
Unmute.
Unmute.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and I'm delighted to really welcome our next guest. For those of you that listen to us every day, we're here weekdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we've made a commitment to engaging our friends in organized philanthropy. And specifically those change makers on the front lines when it comes to responsive philanthropy. It's not enough for us to just sort of, talk about the issues that are afoot across the country and around the world that keep us from being that more perfect union. We've got to make sure that we are highlighting the folks that are investing in building a more perfect union. And one of those people is my next guest, Casey Patterson. She's founder of the Black Equity Collective. And I can't wait to learn more about that. But first things first, welcome to the show, Casey.
Hi. So thank you so much for having me. It's really great to see you a bit again. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And for folks who don't know, Casey and I, we actually met years and years and years ago. I think it was when Liberty Hill Foundation had launched the Uplifting Change Initiative. That was so many years ago. And then we got to know each other a little bit better through the work of the African American Board Leadership Institute that was founded by one of our friends and mentors, our shared friend and mentor, Virgil Roberts. And look at what we're doing now.
I know. Look at it. I was thinking our mentors would be so proud.
Oh, I think you're right. I think you're right. And so tell us a little bit about this Black Equity Collective. I mean, when you're not busy interviewing change makers like Common on stage at Black Equity Collective events, what else is your organization up to?
Well, thanks so much for the question. I just appreciate being able to be part of a conversation that's about responsive philanthropy, particularly in the current climate in which we find ourselves. We need philanthropy to step into its mission and its identity now more than ever. And so thank you for having me on your show to talk about that work. With respect to the Black Equity Collective, it was founded and launched 3 years ago in 2021. And it was really, I would say, a vision of so many Black leaders in community here in Los Angeles that had been part of a predecessor effort called the Black Equity Initiative. And, it funded that particular initiative, launched in 2017 and ran for 4 years. And it included leaders that are very well known, in our community, leaders like Pete White, Susan Burton, folks over at the Community Coalition, Anti-Recidivism Coalition. So lots of really good forward-thinking organizations that, like I like to say, go hard in the paint for Black folks. And when we were looking at, well, what was the future of Black equity, what they really brought to light, Sharice Breeman and others, what they really brought to light was that there was no entity that was really focused on the long-term health and sustainability of Black-led and Black empowering nonprofit organizations that were really invested in making sure that those organizations had the kind of strength of infrastructure to be able to do their work for the long haul. And particularly in times where we know that Black folks are on the front lines leading social change, that it's nonprofit organizations that really serve as our community first responders. They really felt like there needed to be a voice in philanthropy that was standing up for them, that was fighting for them, and that was speaking to the need to invest in their long-term sustainability. And so we launched the Black Equity Collective with that mission in mind, to join funders and communities in strengthening the long-term sustainability of Black-led and Black empowering organizations, because again, it's those organizations that are on the front lines of social change, that are defending democracy, that are advocating for the issues that matter to Black folks, that are issues that we all care about, all communities care about. And we need to make sure that we're supporting them to do their work and to do it from a position of strength.
I mean, one of the things I love about your approach and the approach of all the folks out there that have been supporting the work of the Black Equity Collective is that it's not happening in isolation. It's happening in community. We just mentioned the Uplifting Change Initiative, which was launched by the Liberty Hill Foundation. For those in other parts of the country that may not be familiar with Liberty Hill, it's a phenomenal community foundation that has been investing in change and not just charity for decades now. And that happened under Kathy Blumenfield's leadership there. Initiatives like that, initiatives like the Bloom Initiative over at the California Community Foundation, the Black Men and Boys initiative, it started off and then it became Bloom. And then, of course, the Boys and Men of Color initiative by the California Endowment. And so I'm citing those to set the table.
Yeah.
For our leaders, learners, and listeners that may be less familiar with some of the initiatives that have been more inclusive of and have done a better job at centering, Black-led and Black-serving organizations. Share with us, what insights have you gleaned? What have you learned from those initiatives and more that are shaping the work of the Black Equity Collective?
Well, the one thing I've learned, and I like to quote one of my great teachers in this work, Pete White, who is the executive director of the Los Angeles Community Action Network, who I think rightly asked a very provocative question, which is, why do Black folks have to always be treated as an initiative? Why do we have to always be the thing that starts and stops? And that we're never part of the long-term vision of what it looks like to really move social change in philanthropy. And I think one of the things I've learned is a lesson in language and how important it is to be very clear about the language that we're using, because language matters. And, we are no longer talking about the Black Equity Collective as a 10-year initiative. We are now talking about it through a lens and a vision of Black permanency and what it means to actually be a permanent people and to have permanent institutions that are defending the livelihood and the existence of a people. And so I've learned a lot about language. I've learned a lot about how to really operationalize equity. And I think that is where a lot of the sort of both the challenge and the opportunity in philanthropy really exist, because what I've learned over the course of many years now working with funders is that usually intellectually they understand equity. It's really when you get into the practice of equity that a lot of funders get stuck. And so the work of the Black Equity Collective is really about demonstrating how to practice equity and to practice equity in a way that actually honors the lived experiences of Black folks and Black leaders in community. And that, to me, is really how philanthropy moves from what has been a very traditional space of where funders are sort of directing work and really having their own vision about what communities need, into moving into a more, as you describe, a more responsive approach to philanthropy. And what I like to describe as a more sort of fulfilling of its very existence, which, you know, I often say that the very meaning of philanthropy is the love of humanity. And if we have to be, as funders, really committed to centering love in our work, which means that we have to be making sure that we are centering the voices and the experiences of those who are living the work day to day in communities. So what I've learned is a lot about language and a lot about how to practice equity in a way that really honors the lived experiences of folks who work on the ground every day on the front lines in our communities.
And I want to put that frame up on the screen again for folks that are watching us and not just listening to us. You're looking at the website for the Black Equity Collective that spells out very clearly what they do: building the field, resourcing the field, strategic partnerships, lifting our voice. I mean, you know, I have so much respect for your approach to this work, centering love in this work, operationalizing equity in this work. And, you know, especially in a field that, to your earlier point, can be so directive. I mean, how many foundation-led initiatives are there across the country? Probably a dime a dozen, right? But, so many of those initiatives, you know, are not always in response to what the people say they need, but they are oftentimes, you know, a demonstration of sometimes the egos of major donors and major funders. When we come forward, I want to talk a little bit about operationalizing equity. There's some strong headwinds that are blowing our way. And if we're not careful, we might blow away and our work may blow away along with those headwinds. I want to get your reaction to some things in the news and get some helpful tips from you for folks that are trying to navigate this topsy-turvy environment. More with Casey Patterson, the founder of the Black Equity Collective. When we come forward, you're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The NAACP is urging President Biden to stop the sale of weapons to Israel. The organization says the move would build support for Biden from Black voters ahead of the election. A March poll found that nearly a quarter of Black voters said the Israel-Hamas war is an extremely important issue to them in the upcoming presidential race. A former South Carolina employee of Palmetto State Armory is filing a lawsuit against the company alleging racial discrimination. Tremel Washington says that while working for the gun manufacturer, he repeatedly found a noose left at his workstation. Washington reportedly complained about this to supervisors multiple times, but was ignored. He was later fired in what he alleges was retaliation for reporting the incidents. Washington also claims a coworker told him to wear a shirt reading, quote, "I can't breathe," end quote, a reference to Black people killed by police. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Grab a proper breakfast with Wendy's new $3 English muffin breakfast deal. Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Select or request English muffin deal to obtain discount. Not valid for a la carte or combo orders. Single item at regular price.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
In less than 24 hours, the Lakers' search for a new head coach has taken a massive turn. NBA sources are reporting that Connecticut men's basketball coach Dan Hurley is the man the Lakers really want for the job, and that contract talks for a long-term deal are already underway. Sources claim the Lakers and Hurley have been talking since Darvin Ham was fired on May 3rd. This revelation surrounding Hurley comes after JJ Redick was believed to be the front runner because of his podcast connection with LeBron. If the Lakers can convince Hurley to take the job, this will be a major development for the franchise. Hurley is coming off back-to-back national championships at UConn, where he has won 70% of his games in 6 seasons. Hurley is a big-time college coach with the kind of profile the Lakers need. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice, and injustice. The courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hey LA, be an eco-friendly hero. Join LADWP's Power Savers program and use your smart thermostat to help ease strain on the electric grid during peak electric demand. You'll save electricity while you lower your bill. Plus, as a power saver, you can get up to $185 in prepaid gift cards. Don't have a smart thermostat? No problem. Shop and sign up at ladwp.com/Power Savers program. That's ladwp.com/Power Savers program. To help combat climate change, LADWP is helping neighborhoods have better access to electric vehicles by awarding nearly $130 million in EV rebates to customers just like you. From big savings on used EVs to building new charging plazas, LADWP is charging ahead to help all Angelenos experience the benefits of EVs. Get rebates of up to $4,000 for a used EV and $1,750 for a charger. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation with my friend Casey Patterson. She is the founder of the Black Equity Collective, founder and chief architect, might I add. And I've been in community with Casey for a long time. And when people ask, how do you feel about the future, right? The future is about more than just who's running for president, right? The future is about change makers on the front lines, block by block, community by community, issue by issue. And Casey Patterson is one of those change makers on the front lines. And so as a change maker on the front line, I want you to give us your take on some of these headwinds that are blowing our way, the movement against all things diversity, equity, and inclusion, is raging. Just yesterday, I was talking to Alfonso David, the legal counsel for the Fearless Fund. He's also president and CEO of the Global Black Economic Forum. And he schooled us on what the latest federal appeals court ruling might mean for Black women entrepreneurs across the country. What's your take on this anti-DEI movement, and more importantly, how we can all weather it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for so appropriately talking about the leadership that happens block by block and community by community, because that's really the leadership that we all need to lean in on right now as we face all of these headwinds. You know, it is not surprising. I think that we can look back over the course of our history in this country, a history that many people are trying to shield and whitewash and deny. But if we look back over the course of history in this country, we see that we are in another yet familiar pattern, another time where following Black progress, there is a heavy and deep backlash to that progress that in some ways is an attempt, you know, to remind us to stay in our place. And if Black folks are anything, we are resilient, we are creative, we are innovative, and we refuse to be eliminated. And so what I know about this moment is that Black folks are going to survive. And what I know about this moment is that we are going to continue to rely on one another, to lean into not just our creativity, but our love for one another, our sheer will to live, and our desire to see a more hopeful future for our children. And that will continue to fuel us despite, you know, all of the hate that we are experiencing in the form of these backlashes. I think that what is most telling about these various forms of backlash is that it's a signal that we're actually winning. It's a signal that there is deep fear around what it means for Black folks and for people of color more broadly to actually be part of a fully inclusive democracy. And really, from my vantage point, what's unconstitutional is not the investment in race-specific work or in Black folks more directly. What's really unconstitutional is weaponizing the law that actually acts against the intent of the Constitution, which actually acts against the intent of building a more perfect union. That's actually what's unconstitutional. I often say that equity is not unconstitutional. Equity doesn't violate the Constitution, it fulfills it. And so as long as we have a message and a narrative around equity actually fulfilling the law and not violating the law, we have to get craftier in how we talk about it and get on the offensive from a narrative perspective. But we also understand that no matter what, Black folks are going to be here for one another, and we are going to continue to build and to create a more perfect union for ourselves that everyone gets to benefit from, because we're not going to fight. We're not going to stop fighting for what we know are the conditions that we need to thrive.
That's right. That's right. Double click on all of that. Casey, I've got to ask you, what's your message to leaders in philanthropy? Just recently, I had a conversation with Dr. Richard Besser, the president and CEO of Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And that interview, we'll be sharing that with all of our leaders, learners, and listeners very soon. But I'd asked him a similar question, and I'm curious what your guidance would be, what your call to action would be to leaders in philanthropy that whose knees might be buckling when it comes to meeting the moment now.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's such a timely question because just 2 weeks ago, the Black Equity Collective released an open letter to philanthropy signed by over 150 Black-led organizations and non-Black-led but allied organizations that were really calling on philanthropy to step into the moment and to not retreat, calling on philanthropy by saying equity cannot be erased, and reminding funders that you cannot unsee what you saw in the public lynching of George Floyd. You cannot unknow what you now know about structural and systemic inequity. And because you cannot unsee and you cannot unknow, you are compelled to act out of the very existence of your sector, which is the love of humanity. So our call to action was really one singular call that sort of hung under what we call the principles for Black equity. And the singular call to action is to make eradicating anti-Blackness the funding standard in philanthropy, not as an initiative, not as a short-term thing, not as a response to some humanitarian crisis and yet another public killing and lynching of a Black body, but to make it the standard by which all philanthropy operates. And to do that, we outlined several actions that funders can and should take that are broken down into 4 principles: the principle of truth, strength, strategic disruption, and love. And we outline actions that we want funders to take, including reading the report that was produced by the task force to study reparations here in California, to read that report and to make it a foundational part of your philanthropy and your strategic priorities. There are not just history that needs to be learned from, but there are several recommendations that funders can act on just in that report alone. Under the principle you see here of strength, we are calling on funders to make longer term investments in Black specific work, into racial justice and equity specific work, to get out of this sort of short term 2 to 3 year funding cycles at most, where there's another strategic priority that resets your focus. We're really calling on funders to look further out into the future and to make investments that are 10 to 15 years into the future that really center racial justice and racial equity as a core of their grant making. We want funders to strategically disrupt what have been patterns of structural underfunding for Black-led organizations by following the guidelines and the recommendations of organizations like ABFI to really set a minimum of at least a quarter of your grant making being directed to Black-led movement building and Black-led and empowering work. And finally, things like love, like really centering love in the way grant making and funding is done, to provide organizations with enough financial resources to pay their people family sustaining wages, to be able to prevent the brain drain that often happens in the nonprofit sector because we can't afford to pay our people what they're worth. And therefore, they go and get another job in another sector, and we lose all of the institutional knowledge and the lived experience history that they actually bring to the work, and that makes our work more loving and more community centered. And so we need funders to recognize that we need to love our people who are part of the community. We cannot do community specific work without paying the people who we employ that come from the community. That is a way that we love our community too. And so again, there are several things that we have outlined for funders to be able to take the work of equity forward and to not retreat from this moment.
I think it's terrific. I think it's thorough. In our remaining minute, I've got to ask you really the obvious question is, how did you even get into philanthropy? And for folks that are less familiar with the career opportunities that exist in organized philanthropy, what advice would you offer them?
Well, first, I often say that I didn't choose philanthropy. Philanthropy chose me. And for Black folks in particular, I want to just remind you that we are philanthropists through and through, because if you give anything to your church, if you provide any sort of resources to your family, you are a philanthropist. And so you don't have to be an organized philanthropy in order to do the work of philanthropy. So I just want to remind folks about that. But really, I think the path into philanthropy now is through community, because more and more funders are wanting to hire people who come from community, who have the lived experience in the nonprofit sector. And so philanthropy is a path that you want to take. Then I say start that path in community, do that path well, love our people, and you will be on the radar of funders.
My thanks to Casey Patterson, founder and chief architect of the Black Equity Collective. Where can people go to learn more about the Black Equity Collective quickly?
Yes, our website, blackequitycollective.org. We're on Instagram. You can find us on LinkedIn. I'm personally on LinkedIn. You can find me at Casey Patterson. I would just love to be in conversation with all of you, and let's keep the work going. And so good to see you, Nii-Quartelai. Thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to see you again, and we'll have you back again soon. Keep up the great work. Casey Patterson, everybody, I'm telling you, I mean, being in conversation with you, it fills me with more hope, more optimism, more joy, and more love. And so thank you for that.
Thank you. Be well.
You've been listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
The station you turn to when you had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
What does it take to take on Alzheimer's? Awareness that nearly 2/3 of those diagnosed are women, including Black women. Dedication to lowering your risk by eating healthy and monitoring blood pressure. And confidence to talk to your healthcare provider about screening and early detection. You have what it takes to take on Alzheimer's. Learn about signs and screening at takeonalz.com. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and it's about that time for the quiet part out loud. I saw this story reported by NPR.org, and I thought, wow, this is a sign of the times. Congressional stock trading law has unintended but profitable consequences. But for whom? Public polling shows that most Americans don't think much of Congress. Surprise, surprise. But some investors think the lawmakers are doing one thing right, picking stocks so well that this has prompted a whole new class of products to copy their trades. Traders and market watchers are using publicly available data to track which lawmakers are reporting big stock margin gains. They believe that information provides an edge on the market, and companies are selling access to tools that track those profitable lawmaker trades. This dynamic demonstrates that the Stock Act, that's STOCK, the Stock Act, for those who may be less familiar, it is the law enacted more than a decade ago to tamp down on congressional trading, but it may be boosting it. You see, funds marketed by financial services companies model what quote unquote political traders in Congress are doing. Reports by industry analysts in the last few years show that these investment strategies are beating the market. The public disclosures required by the law for all transactions over $1,000 generated an unintended class of products. These funds are all legal. but the products underscore that the problem that the law was designed to fix, to eliminate the impression that lawmakers are profiting from information they learn in their official capacities, it's still an issue. So, here we are with an example of a law that was intended to crack down on lawmakers, in insider trading, essentially. But now it's created this whole environment where you have folks that are developing products that are tracking their transactions. It's not illegal. Some folks saw trades by lawmakers in both parties spiking at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic and found that roughly 15 senators made trades from February into April 2020. That's around $100 million of stock being traded in that time. And around 40 members of the House made about 1,500 trades, almost another $100 million. So sometimes people wonder, like, well, wait a minute, if you only make $174,000 a year as a member of Congress, how in the world are some of these folks millionaires? I mean, you got to maintain 2 residences, a residence in Washington, D.C. for, your presence here on Capitol Hill, and a residence wherever your district is, some districts being closer, some districts being further, some districts being in more expensive states to live, some residences being in states that are less expensive to live. But in case you were wondering, this may account for how we have members of Congress that are millionaires. Again, it's not illegal, but is it right? That's the quiet part out loud. You're listening to A More Perfect Union. More when we come forward.
Quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Become a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Get free and confidential information on immigration and citizenship. Visit lapl.org/NAI to find your nearest library, or call us at 213-228-7390. That's lapl.org/NAI or 213-228-7390, and start your path to becoming a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Call 213-228-7390 or visit lapl.org/NAI.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's cal-cruise-news.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing.
This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
You've been listening to a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Let me finish with this. You all remember the Michigan man who was driving during that viral Zoom court hearing, who had his license suspension lifted in 2022? Well, USA Today is reporting that Michigan man who went viral after a judge noticed him driving while he attended a virtual Zoom court hearing with a suspended license is being vindicated by an apparent clerical error. That's right. Corey Harris, 44, attended the virtual hearing May 15th for charges related to an October traffic stop in Pittsfield Township, Michigan. A clip from the hearing spread like wildfire across the internet last week, with many in just disbelief that Harris would drive with a suspended license right in front of Judge Cedric Simpson. After noticing what Harris was doing, Simpson revoked his bond and ordered him to turn himself in at the local jail by 6 p.m. that day. What Simpson and no one in the courtroom apparently knew was that another judge had rescinded Harris's license suspension in January 2022. That's according to the Saginaw County court records obtained by USA Today earlier this week. And so why didn't the court know that Harris's license had been reinstated? Well, Harrison's license had been suspended during a now settled child support case with Saginaw County in front of the court before it was ordered reinstated, according to court records. And so, look, sometimes we see things on the social media, we see things on the internet, and everything that you see there isn't always what you can believe, right? And so we're glad that this clerical error was corrected and that this brother is not sitting in somebody's jail for no violation of the law, right? And so we don't want to see any more brothers in jail. Especially those that don't deserve to be in jail, don't need to be in jail. And so we're glad that this story has indeed had a happy ending. My thanks to The Village, helps us produce a More Perfect Union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer extraordinaire, Miles Lowe, our show producer, Robert Battles, and our podcast publishing guru, Odell Bodie. Also, big thanks to Casey Patterson over at the Black Equity Collective for being such a terrific guest. Can't wait to have her on again. Remember, don't panic, organize, do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. You've been listening to A More Perfect Union on K.